Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for coming. My name is Brandon Davis. I am a fifth-year PhD candidate in the biochemistry program. I'm co-founder of RHM Innovations, Inc., a startup that myself and a co-founder founded. And I'm the founder and president of the new trainee group, SMD Entrepreneurs. And thank you all for coming and joining us for the first annual School of Medicine and Dentistry Big Ideas in Science and Medicine pitch competition. So this competition is a sneak peek into part of what we will offer from the members in the group of SMD Entrepreneurs. We aim to show that, and also that anybody who wants to participate in these types of events, we aim to show that entrepreneurship is a career path that many of us trainees should try. Sorry about this excess noise. Although we are excited about business development, SMD Entrepreneurs has something for everyone, whether it's learning about investing or making connections with distinguished scientists and industry leaders like the judges we have today. So this event would not have been possible without the help and support from many key collaborators. I would like to thank Eric Vaughn and Elaine Smolik of MyHub and their continued support and financial contribution to the competition. A big thank you to Kathy Driscoll, Heidi Mergenthaler, Megan Plate, and Annette Durnack at the Ain Center for sharing their resources and enthusiasm of bringing entrepreneurship to URMC. And a big thank you to Stephanie Ripley, Carrie Mertz, and Michael Dermody for helping us connect with our judges through the UR Alumni Network. And last but not least, thank you very much to our distinguished panel of alumni judges for volunteering their time to be with us today. We have Dr. Paul Bleichard, Executive Partner at Ardan Equity, Sharon Samjitsingh, co-founder of Healthcare Originals and the 2020 TechRochester's Technology Woman of the Year, Dr. Sullafa Kadura, Assistant Professor at URMC, and Dr. Jeff Goder, who's a venture partner at the Column Group. We are very fortunate to have them with us today. So, and if you're able to stay with us after the competition is over, there will be a networking event with the judges, competing teams, and the staff. So as a courtesy to the judges and everybody who is participating, and to make sure that this runs smoothly, if you're not presenting and you're the audience, please turn your camera and your mic off, so as to make sure that there's no distractions and everybody's a respectful audience member. So without further ado, let's begin. So the first team to compete will be Fong Nguyen from Pipette Connect. So Eric, if you could spotlight Fong, that would be a great start.
Hi, okay. I'm gonna share my screen.
And Fong, you'll get a 3, 2, 1 pitch from Heidi.
Okay. Just let me know if everyone can see my screen. Okay. Does this look good?
Yes.
I can't hear anything. Okay.
I'll start your timer as soon as you're ready. So go ahead when you're ready.
Okay. So hello, our venture is Nobi Connect Bridge to Innovation. So the perfect healthcare ecosystem requires different key players communicate and work together to deliver patients the most meaningful outcomes in the quickest ways and the lowest cost. However, in reality, $7 to $8 trillion spent on healthcare globally, and 30% of this is considered waste. This primarily is caused by the lack of interaction between these key players, leading to unmet and unidentified clinical challenges, the loss of financial and human capitals, and low impact research. For example, a researcher often finds themselves in a situation where they have little to no interaction with other researcher, healthcare provider, and patient. So now imagine the world where researchers can connect and network with not just one, a dozen, and hundreds of other researchers. And Nobi Connect will provide the modern and forward-looking solution to this decade-old problem. So how this is going to work? So Nobi Connect will be a mobile app that matches researcher with other stakeholders to set up collaboration and gain insights. User will be based on the location and the key clientele, including researcher, healthcare providers, and pharma industry partner. Revenues will come from subscription fees and ads. There are 3 buckets of consideration that we believe that will make Nobi Connect extremely successful. First is the product differentiation. Our service will be completely virtual, where users can input their information about themselves and their research interests, and there could be numerous functions to help enhance user interaction and engagement with the app. We will use big data-driven approach powered by AI technologies to identify and match user based on a database such as interest, profession, match history, supporter profile, and follower profile. Secondly, financial consideration. We can learn a lot from the success and failures of many of the popular relationship and dating apps out there. For example, we can structure our membership tiers in which at the bronze level, it's completely free to our customer to lower the barrier to entry. The silver and the gold level will come with a fee with which customer can have exclusive access to content and functions. Another example is the gamification of interaction, for example, virtual interview. And finally, competitor landscape. The current organizations are often inflexible and offer one-size-fits-all approach to their members. The organization are industry-specific and exclusive to people who already work in science. This translates to an extremely fragmented market and very low barrier to entry for our organization. More importantly, KnowBigConnect offers a user-centric approach using multimedia and completely virtual platform that can make science and collaboration easy and accessible. With these three buckets of ideas, the arrival of KnowBigConnect will have the healthcare industry network reimagined. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, very nice presentation and pitch, Fong. Okay, judges, any questions?
Sure. So, Fong, big clinical trials done by pharma, which is where most of the revenue would be for a company like this, are usually done at arm's length, where the pharma companies don't know who the patients are. Have you anticipated that?
Sorry, can you help me clarify? So you're asking if the major revenue for this venture will come in from the pharma industry?
No, the big clinical trials, which presumably are looking for patients, are usually done by a pharmaceutical company working with a provider, a physician, or whatever, and the physician contacting the patients. But the pharma companies would be at arm's length from the patients. They wouldn't know who they were, really. They're not supposed to have that in their data. It's supposed to be managed by the providers. So how would you see your network working in that case? What role would the pharmaceutical companies have?
Yeah, so this venture that we have, thank you for the question, it's a great question. So the focus of our venture is more in terms of the key client between the basic researcher and the healthcare providers, and to essentially enhance the communication. And the basic idea of this whole venture is that if we have the collision of people who work on the front line and the people who actually do the science, and especially not just science, but also engineering, and come up with approaches that can actually benefit the people who work on the front line, that then result in research that actually means something to the patient and potentially translate to something that a pharma industry, like you mentioned, for example, could be interested in and license and even develop it further.
So this is for the design of research, if you will.
Right, correct.
Okay.
Hey,
Next judge's question.
Yeah, it's Jeff Cutter. I was just wondering, what can you tell us about the team you've assembled to make KnowBigConnect a reality?
So currently it's me and another person, Lindsay Smith. She has been working in retail pharmacy for about 10 years. She has her PharmD and her MBA, and we've been talking about this idea. And there's a lot of things, and especially in pharmacies, for example, how do you prioritize when to dispense drugs to patient, who you should prioritize? And this is the sort of thing that, for example, a computer science major or a researcher that can develop an AI technology where they can take into the data from years and years and identify trends and prioritize to see who should get the drugs first, what is the best way for them to get, what kind of coupon they could even use. So this is the sort of thing that we imagine that the company would do in terms of, so right now, just me and Lindsay, potentially in the future, I could probably recruit another person or two working on the aspect of designing the app and have it running. And the advantage of this venture is that because it's completely virtual, So essentially, we don't have a lot of overhead in terms of a physical location and things. So we can get this thing up and running with a pretty low capital cost upfront.
Okay, time is up. Thank you very much, Fong. We're gonna move on. If you could stop sharing your screen. Very good job. Okay, so the next team up is Health Cision with Paul Suwan Lee.
Share my screen. Can everyone see this? 1 second. Yes, can everyone see this? Okay. Should I start now or?
Whenever you're ready.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna start. Okay. So what if I told you that no one cares about you once you get old? Of course, we all know that. No, that's not true. But look around us today. The world has become digitalized beyond our imagination. Let's look at this brief timeline. COVID has dramatically changed how we think about our lives. Not only are our meetings like this one is done over Zoom, but also patient care. Telemedicine and various digital technologies tools existed prior, but everything has accelerated to overcome the pandemic. However, these tools have not been optimized for senior citizens. So many elderly struggle to utilize these tools, despite the fact around 40% of them actually utilize smartphones every day. As we become more dependent on digital tools, senior citizens are becoming more isolated. This also connects to other critical medical problems. As many of you probably know, aging is the most significant risk factor for many diverse diseases such as dementia. In 2019, the number of dementia patients was around 57 million. By 2050, they project that number will triple to 157 million patients as we all live longer. A projection that Medicare will run out of money by 2026 really doesn't help our situation, as these diseases are affecting our health as well as economics. There are no treatments for many of these age-related diseases, so advanced disease management is essential. Hello, my name is Paul, and I plan to develop better ways to manage diseases for those who need our help the most. I'm currently creating a to-do list application with activities of daily living and instrumental activities of daily living. For those who may not be familiar with these terms, these include walking, feeding, bathing, and more advanced functions such as managing finances and medications. These are the ways you can clinically measure one's functional status in the clinical settings. By simplifying a to-do list, we can provide simple access to medical needs. The key here is simplicity. Why is this special? We give our senior citizens ability to become more independent and thus self-empowered. In pediatrics, there's a repeated saying that children are not small adults. I dare to say that elderly are not all the adults. Isolation and lack of activities and independence can negatively affect their health tremendously more than compared to us. Additionally, by analyzing the daily activities shared by the patient themselves, healthcare providers can develop individualized treatment and adjust medication according to each patient. This valuable clinical data can also be used as real-world evidence and biomarkers to see how well novel drugs or treatments work on individual patients. I plan to offer free service for the basic functions of my application and also pay version with advanced functions that will easily integrate other medical systems. My overall goal is to scale up from one application to health technology hub for senior citizens. I hope you support me in helping those who need our help the most, and most importantly, future you. Thank you.
Okay, great job, Paul. Great pitch. All right, judges' questions.
Hi, Paul. This is Sharon.
Hello.
Can you explain exactly what your product is? Is it an app? What are seniors doing with it?
So I think many of us within our generations is used to to-do list application. This is more advanced scheduling tools you can use to say on this day, on this time, I'm gonna go have to do this meeting, or on this time I have this homework assignment due. So I would like to, a lot of this currently has been kind of overflowing the market since COVID started, and it's been helpful for us to kind of have things on schedule. But Currently, all of these tools are very advanced. Most of them, you have to type in what you're going to do. But I would like to really simplify this, a lot of activities senior citizens have to do to meet their needs and to simplify them for them to use easily.
Okay, so it's an app
Yes.
that they interact with, but simplified.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And Paul, just to build off
go
Sharon's
ahead.
question, what do you see as the main competitive advantage of your approach?
So actually, this kind of idea came along my experience in the clinical settings as I'm currently a medical student. I use a lot of kiosk machines in high school to help senior citizens come to the hospital. And a lot of senior citizens really struggled to adjust to novel digital tools we have, especially within health settings. So a lot of competitors such as Things or other fantastical a lot of applications are still very difficult to use. Even for me, I struggle with some of their functions. But by simplifying it, I think senior citizens will be easily adaptable to using it. And I think one of the goals I have is create an application also care providers and also their family members can all use to look over their beloved family members and patients' health altogether.
Paul, have you gotten some input from potential users for this app?
Yeah, so I actually have been working on prototypes. So one of my best friends is actually retired, 76-year-old, just got an iPhone and Mac for the first time in last year. So I think he's been one of the members I've been working a lot with closely to see what he likes and how I can easily convince him to use this and that it can help him out. So there are a lot of functions I'm currently changing, but I think within the summer or by the end of this year, I'll have solid prototype ready.
Is there a networking component to this?
So networking wise, I think so I have a very special, I have my niche in research has been within the data science, within data analytics, within medicine. So a lot of networking has been done within students who are interested in data science. But within my field, I'm trying to kind of reach out to more friends I have, all of MD PhD students around the medical school systems.
Okay, that is all the time that we have. Thank you very much, Paul. Great job. So next up is telehealth vitamin coaching with Esteban Avendano. Esteban?
Thank you. Let me pull it up. Okay. So can you hear me and see me? Okay.
Yes,
So
okay.
I'll start. So I'm Esteban Avendaño Fernandez. I'm an MD, PhD, MP master, and I have a master's in public health, and I am currently doing the translational biomedical sciences PhD program. And I'm here to tell you about a telehealth vitamin coaching initiative. So the problem is there are at least 110 million Americans taking vitamins without medical advice, which actually translates into 23,000 related emergency room visits at least that can lead to a cost of up to $50 million per year. And there are groups of people more vulnerable to this problem. So we are trying to help reduce these health costs and the burden from this problem to have a happier community in general. What's the solution I'm proposing? Is having a televitamin coaching meetings provided by medical doctors from Costa Rica that will help optimize vitamin consumption and decrease the negative health outcomes produced by these not taking correctly vitamins. And at the end, we'll have better health and people with more money in their banks as well as institutions. So what does it make sense and why me? So I have 22 years of combined clinical medical experience with research experience and education experience. There's no similar approach of what I've known as to date. There's wider acceptance of telehealth, as we've seen already in this conversation. And this will only bring improvements to personal and institutional conditions. This venture will be a direct business to consumer type venture targeting 36 million Hispanics or Latinx people in the USA. And it'll have a recurring yearly revenue addressing 70% of the target population, about $630 million US per year, if charging about $250 annual cost to the person that will access the program. And this is based on that every person that goes to the store market in the USA spends at least $100 per visit to the store in vitamins. And the estimated cost to start this venture will be between $100,000 and $50,000 US, and we're ready to start. So why do I need you? Because I need interest to the US market, which is not a market that I'm familiar with. And of course, I need medical doctors to start, lawyers, IT, marketing, finance. So let's do business.
Hey, very good, Esteban. Thank you so much. Great presentation. Judges, questions?
Esteban, this is great. So I'm curious, you're targeting the Hispanic and Latinx population. So is this something that would be in English, or why are you targeting that group?
Yes, you brought exactly the point, because I will train directly. So I have experience in this. I've already done it. I do it. I have specifically for the last 4 years consult improving people's vitamin taking in general for longevity, like they mentioned, and for health. So I know this. I've already have numbers of costs and what I charge and charge in the past. So yes, the Hispanic population would be the first target to start with clinical physicians from Costa Rica. And this will not be a medical consult. That's very important. This is health. This is not medicine. So this is not telemedicine. This is telehealth. And this will be, this is why this will be coaching. So instead of having people that are not trained in medicine doing this type of coaching, we will have medical doctors that will be advised by me. I have the protocols, all evidence-based. So yeah, so I'm targeting the Hispanic population just because of this, but I could find people that speak English and have been trained also, you know, in the US probably to address other populations. So potentially the market could be much higher than that.
So are you talking about advising people to take the recommended daily allowance, or are you talking about advising people to take large doses of particular vitamins for particular health needs?
Yes, thank you for the question. That's great. It'll be both because people are spending at least $100 US to go and take vitamins, and people are doing crazy things with vitamins. They're taking more than the allowed dose. They're combining medications with vitamins they shouldn't. They're doing crazy things. So yes, bringing vitamins to the proper place in every person's condition will be the goal of this, and it'll all be based on scientific knowledge.
So, and another question, which is, usually in order to get someone to pay for a service, it has to be to save money somewhere else, or to get something that they're not. Right now, you're talking about $630 million in revenues for something that's only a $50 million a year problem for the medical system. Who's going to pay for this, and why would they come to it?
Yes, I would address directly. This will be the consumer. I would not go to the institutions first, at least. And here's where, so people at least consume $1,000, $1,200 per year in vitamins, at least from what there's out there in research market. So, and a lot of these vitamins go to waste because they stop using it. They have medical problems too. So I've already have people coming to me to advise them on how to take medicines because of health problems, or because just of health. So this would, if people throw away 30%, 40% of their vitamins, or they don't take them because they end up going to waste, then for a sum of money that it's related, it will be less than what they're already spending, they could be optimizing what they're spending. So it'll be, they will save money, and they will at the same time will making, they will be spending less in their healthcare costs and all that's related, and they'll feel better because they're going to have better health in general.
Okay, great job, Esteban. Thank you so much.
Thank
Now
you.
we're going to move on to our next team, STI Medical with Hadi Webi.
Hello, Lucas and Steve will be joining me today for the pitch. So, should we get started?
Yep, go ahead when you're ready.
All right. Hi, everyone. I am Lucas, and I'm here with my colleagues Hadi and Stephen, and we are representing STIM Medical, or Safe Trocar Insertion Medical. So we are entering one of the hottest markets in surgery right now. There's a $7 billion market of laparoscopic procedures, and that's a 7% growth rate in that area. Additionally, there's a $4 billion market for robotic procedures with a 20% growth rate, and that's like names like the Da Vinci robot. But there's a key problem with all of these different procedures. There's actually 3 key problems, and we're going to solve all of them. First off, when this procedure begins, a trocar, like you see on the slide or in my hands, is used to gain access to the abdomen to perform the procedure. But this has a sharp end and can often run into organs or vessels and do damage. Second, once the trocar is in, the point is removed and the tools are inserted through the cannula portion. However, nothing keeps this cannula portion in its place. And finally, when you go to close at the end of the procedure, traumatic damage has been done to the abdominal wall and to the skin, and that there's no simple way to fix all of that.
So we've developed a solution that will address all 3 of these pain points that surgeons have during procedures. So first you see this, the red portion of the device on the screen will act like a sticker that gets attached to the skin of the patient and is used in order to pull the abdominal wall away from the organs in order to allow space to mitigate the risk of puncturing an organ. Next, the piece that you see attaching to the red portion will act as a holder that attaches to the trocar in order to limit inwards displacement. And then lastly, the hole that you see on the device, it will be used in order to guide the needles for suturing for the closure. And our path to market is first going to start out with obtaining FDA clearance through the 510K pathway. Then next, we're going to be developing contracts and partnerships with multiple injection molding companies in order to produce our device. And then after that, we're going to have a business to consumer model where our target market is going to be any hospital that does laparoscopic robotic surgeries. And we're going to be working with key opinion leaders and subject matter experts in order to get into those hospitals.
Yeah. So we anticipate a $2 manufacturing cost per part. Considering the average cost of trocar being $50, we plan to price our device at $25 each. And there's also a $10,000 molding fee. So we anticipate a $13 profit for the first 1,000 procedures and then $23 for every procedures after that. This gives a total of $350 million per year. We have several subject matter experts to help guide us in the areas where our team lacks expertise. That includes 3 surgeons from and outside the U of R, who are shown in the top row. That's Dr. Galka, Dr. Schoeninger, and Dr. Ironis. And at the bottom, our advisor and mentor, Dr. Gadowski, as well as Dr. Kleinman, who are here to guide us through the medical business and technical aspects of our projects. And with that, thank you, and we're open to any questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Team STI Medical. That was great, great pitch. Time for judges' questions.
Nice presentation, guys. I'm just curious, you did a really nice job setting up how the trocar is designed and differentiated. But as you think about competition longer term in this space, how do you protect that design element, that competitive advantage that you have initially?
Yeah, so there are some big players in the market that design trocars. That includes Medtronic, Ethicon, and some other big companies, but they do not offer the solutions that we offer to some of the key pain points that some of the doctors pointed out. So our device will incorporate those, and it will be a good, it will give our device a good edge over the competition. But we are also opening to licensing our device to those companies and on the long run, if that were an option.
And in terms of pricing, you mentioned a trocar is $25, so you were going to price this the same. Is your component reusable?
So a trocar is actually $50, and these trocars are disposable, and our component would be $25, and it would not be a reusable component. It would be you use it once and then it is thrown away with the disposable trocar, but it's priced at half the cost of a disposable trocar.
And have you done any sensitivity? I mean, you're basically jacking up the price. I know these surgeries are expensive, but you're jacking up the price by 50% for the disposable component. Have you done any price sensitivities to understand?
Yeah. So we've talked to some of the key opinion leaders in the area, and they feel that with our value proposition being that we have all three of these pain points resolved for them, that they don't think that the hospital would have too much of an issue taking that extra cost on, considering it's just one device per procedure.
But are you preventing any costs? Do these problems that happen
Yeah.
cause any?
Yeah, so the biggest cost savings we have is on that first step where the trocar is inserted. If there's organ damage, the cost of the patient staying in the hospital longer and all of that that's involved with trying to fix that is significant. The most recent case that I saw related to this was a $9.6 million settlement for a 26-year-old girl who had an injury this way. So there's definitely cost savings for the safety aspect of this.
Presumably this has to be sterile, and there has to be quality control, distribution, sales. The $2 per part is a simple manufacturing cost. How much does, when you add all of the cost to deliver this product, how much does that all come out to?
Yeah, we were going with the $2 being inclusive of that. And we were just doing some quick estimates based off of the Tessie Plastics website in Webster. They work in this field already with medical devices. So we felt that they were a good place that we could kind of go to get that initial start. And just based off of what their website said and some initial contact with them, that seems like a reasonable number.
Okay, thank you very much, STI Medical. Thank you very much, judges' questions. So we're going to move on to our, very good. We're going to move on to our next competitor, which is Assistive RIF Screw Trajectory Surgical Tool from Abby Miller.
All right, can everyone see our screen? Okay, Sylvia, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Okay, so this is, let's start now. So this is our pitch for an assistive RIF screw trajectory surgical tool. So imagine you have broken your leg so severely that you need plate and screws to be inserted to ensure that your fracture heals properly. Now imagine that during your RIF or open reduction internal fixation surgery, to fix the plate to hold your broken bones together, the surgeon is unsure whether or not they are inserting the screw at the proper trajectory. Sounds a bit far-fetched, right? Wrong. The current standard for surgeons during these types of surgeries is to freehand the screw insertions while relying solely on pure memory and surgical experience. In other words, there is no current method that will ensure that your screws are inserted accurately in line with the predetermined path. So why is it important to have accurate screw insertions? Inaccurate screw insertions could further fracture the bone and increase the potential of needing future revision surgery to correct the proper infixation.
So our solution is a 3D accelerometer-based tracking system that will attach to the proximal end of an already existing bone drill and provide both quantitative and visual feedback on the screw trajectory pathway in real time. This method would be able to be easily used to assist both residents and experienced surgeons, regardless of their experience. It could be sterilized for reuse after each procedure, and unlike existing technologies, it would be specifically designed for ORAF screw procedures.
The surgical power tools global market has reached 1.5 billion with 4% annual growth rate, in which US market has captured around $700 million in 2020. We further segment our tools based on type, which is handle tools of orthopedic segment, which is approximately $400 million. Approximately 6% of market demand comes from New York State, or approximately $23 million in revenue. Our revenue model stream would come from direct sales to hospitals in the Rochester area, and then we plan to expand to medical representatives nationwide.
There are two key competitors in our market in which our device would possibly compete with, which include Stryker's targeting jig and Smith & Nephew's distal targeting device. However, both of these devices are used for ORAF surgeries in which intramedullary rods are used. There are not actually any current devices that are used directly with ORAF surgery involving only plates and screws, which is what our device would be used for. As seen in the diagram of our high-level market landscape, the opportunity gap in the ORAF orthopedic market in which our device could cover is between a low to medium cost of the device while maintaining a high efficacy. This is an overview of our team and all the other key people that have played a role in the development of our project. Thank you for listening to our business pitch, and we'll take any questions now.
Okay, thank you guys very much. Wonderful, wonderful pitch. All right, time for judges' questions.
How do you deal with minor changes to the particular surgical drill that you're working with? And will you have to build a separate one of these for each of the different drills from each of the different companies?
So I think with the attachment design of our solution, the actual attachment to the drill would be able to be flexible enough to conform to any type of drill. So it'd be like that attachment piece would be like modular or have like different settings to basically seal onto the ends, kind of like a seal fitting.
And what are you thinking in terms of pricing, and what costs are you saving with this?
So pricing is not something that we have currently come up with the proper numbers yet for, but since this is an attachment to pre-existing drills and we're not making our own drill for it, we're probably looking in the price range of about $100 just because the electrical components of our device is relatively cheap, but there is the labor of having to program and wire everything up.
And what are you saving hospitals in terms of costs of events?
Well, I know for the SMD is that they're not really a hospital that looks at profit. They're more about patient healthcare, and this would be improving or patient healthcare type of opportunity. And we have VOCs that said that as long as the device improves patient healthcare, they don't save as much money as they would like, they will still buy it.
Okay, so what's the value proposition for the patient?
Value proposition
for the patient, then what is the outcome for the patient? You've expressed the difficulty or the problem in terms of what the doctor faces. If these screws are inserted wrong, what happens with the patient?
So as mentioned kind of before, if these screws are inserted wrong, there is a risk of the surgeon accidentally fracturing the bone even more. Mm-hmm. Or if it's not, then these extra screws can cause the increased risk of them having to get revision surgery in the future, which they will have to pay for.
Okay.
The current solution right now, based off our VOC, is if there is a mistake, then the surgeon will just insert another screw. They just leave the incorrect screw in there and they just add an additional screw, or they can try to take it out, but at that point the hole is already made. So we're just trying to reduce the occurrence of that happening.
Okay, thank you guys very much. Wonderful pitch. Thank you, judges, for the questions. And we're going to move on now to Vest Aid with Shafakat Rahman.
Cool. All right, hi, I'm Shafakat, and I'll be promoting Vest Aid, a personalized digital outpatient protocol for treating vestibular and mental health issues. Our vestibular system encodes our sense of balance, and a healthy sense of balance allows us to dance, move, stretch, and do so many things with our bodies. But when our sense of balance is compromised, we experience dizziness, vertigo, and these symptoms can be chronic for people with chronic vestibular disorders. In fact, vestibular disorders affect more Americans than type 2 diabetes, asthma, fibromyalgia, and celiac disease combined. For many people, vestibular issues correlate with a deteriorating mental health. And now I don't have the luxury of going to a clinic to talk to patients, but if you do a quick keyword search on Twitter, you'll find that a lot of people are very vocal about their vestibular impairment. There's a lot of studies that have looked at mental health correlates with vestibular issues. And so the goal is, how can we aid this underserved population? This aid would act as a long-term digital outpatient service that aims to do two things: personalized mental health treatment and digital vestibular rehab. Now, there are a lot of companies that are trying to go into the mental health space and the digital therapeutic space, but I want to bring up Christensen's model of disruptive innovation, in that these companies, what they end up doing is they overserve some customers, underserve others, and they don't really make the perfect service. What this aid would do is to develop the perfect service for this particular patient pool that is highly prevalent but underserved. Now, let's imagine a business model. We would seek partnerships with vestibular clinics all across the US. So you can imagine a patient going into a vestibular clinic. This aid would be part of their treatment options, and they can seek help, their treatment at home. Now, this aid could standardize initial non-invasive protocols for vestibular treatment in cases where surgery is not needed, and hospital and insurance companies will be incentivized to pay for it because it'll reduce healthcare-specific burden. So let's think about money. Let's say a patient goes into a doctor's visit, they pay a certain $30 copayment, insurance covers a certain amount, and they have to pay for the cost of the service. This aid would come in, extract a certain percentage from insurance coverage, and also from the patient's use of service. So for this use case, this aid would make about $46 per patient every year. We scale that by the number of people with vestibular dysfunction. We're talking about a total addressable market of 3 billion, and maybe a more reasonable estimate of somewhere in the 100 millions for the service addressable market. The mental health market is a $1 billion industry, and the digital therapeutic scene is also a $1 billion industry. So for the next 5 to 10 to 15 years, there's a lot of money to be made in this area, and there's a lot of social good. The team is the one weakness of my presentation. I'm right now the only person on this team. I'm CEO, but I imagine the organizational structure would be as such. And since we're a services business, I think we'll fare well than people trying to make a new electronic medical record. Now, I open the floor for questions, and I thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you so much. Great presentation and great pitch. Time for judges' questions.
How specifically is this going to address vestibular disorders?
Let me bring up some. So in terms of so people with vestibular issues, they run into a lot of complications because of their mental. The way that the vestibular sensation works is that when it's compromised, you can't really get out of bed. You experience vertigo. Your way of life is totally changed, and a lot of people can't even go to work because they just can't function. So when they go into a clinic to get help, I mean, you're already giving them a lot of burden in terms of travel to healthcare, and then all the costs that come in with assessing their circumstance. And there's a lot of costs in getting inpatient evaluations, laboratory costs, imaging costs, and total medication. But the thing is, there's a lot of studies that have looked at internet-based vestibular rehab. And this particular study has shown that in standalone internet VR and a blend of internet VR with inpatient consultation, both groups experience less dizziness, less anxiety, and more subjective improvement of their symptoms over the course of time. So really, you're moving all these treatment options that I think that are done in the clinic to the home. And if you can provide a very solid digital therapeutic product, that maybe the first initial consult could be done at the clinic, and then you bring them back home so they can just resume their treatment at home, I think we're going to do a lot of good, just not the patients, but also the healthcare burden in terms of hospitals dealing with a lot of the issues, administrative side.
I'm curious about that model, actually, of like the business-to-business model of a vestibular clinic
Yeah.
Initially evaluating the patient and then saying, you know, you can go use this app now. How do you think that would work? Because that clinic would potentially lose revenue. Like, what would the benefit be for that clinic?
Yeah, so in terms of revenue, there was a paper published in 2021 saying there is a healthcare burden in terms of people treating dizziness patients. And so a lot of these things, there are a lot of people going into the vestibular clinic for these issues. And in terms of making money, in terms of maybe this wouldn't be great for private practice, but in terms of hospital administrations, I think a lot of doctors who see a lot of these patients over time, they can focus on the patients with chronic illness that really need surgery. For example, like maybe just dehiscence syndrome or some actual physiological issues. And the majority of patients who deal with vestibular issues that can be addressed with just rehab, there's really no need for them to do all this imaging, all these laboratory tests. You can just get them on this protocol, assess their condition at home. So I think for the people in the hospital institution, they would really benefit.
Okay, any other judges' questions for Shaf? Okay, that's all the time that we have for this one. Thank you very much, Shaf. And we're going to move on to our next presentation, which is Health Hikers with Thomas O'Connor.
All right, let me open up my slides here. Okay, yeah, if we're ready, I'll get started. So hi everyone, I'm Tom O'Connor, and I'll be pitching my idea of Health Hikers today. We have a serious epidemic getting out of control in this country, and I'm not talking about COVID. 50% of American adults are considered obese. Even worse, 60% of American adults suffer from a chronic disease. And disturbingly, 65% of the people that have a chronic disease suffer from 2 or more chronic diseases. This epidemic is getting extremely costly, driving the $3.8 trillion spent annually in healthcare costs. More specifically, the Department of Defense estimates spending $1.5 billion annually on obesity-related healthcare costs. The weight of this extreme financial burden on our economy has caused many to identify obesity as a serious threat to our national security. The solution that I'm proposing is Health Hikers. We all know we should exercise more, but what if exercise was able to be prescribed by doctors to treat and even prevent the development of chronic diseases in the first place? Health Hikers would provide that avenue for patients looking to take back control of their personal health. Study after study has shown that exercise and diet are the most effective ways to improve our health, directly warding off chronic disease at the root cause and not merely treating the symptoms like many prescribed medications. Health Hikers would team up with primary doctors to be an extension of the healthcare system, with hiking guides certified as clinical exercise physiologists. This certification would allow us to work directly with the doctors and oversee prescribed exercise for our clients and patients. In terms of our competition, there are several other guiding services throughout New York State. However, none of them are trained as clinical exercise physiologists and can work directly with clinicians or tailor their experiences for the purpose of improved health and disease prevention, which should give us a competitive advantage. We would charge individuals per hike while offering membership discounts for individuals that want to join our community. We'd also have an active website and social media presence to promote upcoming trips and events, discuss new findings from the field, provide personalized exercise and dietary protocols, and much more. In the short term, the only direct costs would be fees for becoming guide certified in New York State, website hosting fees, and gear for overnight adventures. Long-term fees would include fees around certification as clinical exercise physiologists and certifying other guys interested in joining our team. Currently, this venture is in the idea stage, but through past experiences, I have access to an extremely knowledgeable network in the areas of guiding, medicine, marketing, and business that will be invaluable assets to the growth of our group. And with that, that's my pitch. Thank you for your time, and I'll field any questions you guys have.
Okay, great pitch, Tom. Thank you very much for that, and time for judges' questions.
Hi, have you done any customer research I'm just thinking what you're proposing probably costs more than an average gym membership, some of the cheaper gyms. What are people saying about the advantage that you offer?
Yeah, so let me see if I can go back a slide. Yeah, so actually my guide mentor, Joe Allen, he is the leader of Earth Spirit Excursions, which does a similar experience for customers. However, they're more focused on wildlife biology instead of healthcare implications. And I kind of based my my pricing schedule off of what they have done in the past, and also offered those day hikes and also like the Sunriser like 1 to 2 hour hikes, where you know, memberships, those would be free, where a membership would be, you know, $20 a month, similar to, you know, comparable to what you would be doing at a gym. And there's also precedent for these kind of exercise interventions to be covered by healthcare, where in certain states, certain interventions such as yoga and also supervised exercise is covered by healthcare.
How does this scale, or are you thinking of this as a local Rochester organization?
Yeah, so at least to start, it would be locally, where I would pretty much be driving the marketing and kind of getting the word out about this venture. However, I would also look to expand, you know, based on some of the individuals that I've met in the field of guiding in New York State, and, you know, even potentially expanding out to different states in the future. But yeah, at least for the time being, it would be mostly local.
And will it be differentiated in people's mind from, you know, the Appalachian Mountain Club, for example, or other kinds of organizations that do this as nonprofits? And you know, how would you distinguish that? Is it
the biggest,
just on the basis of your expertise?
Yeah, so the biggest difference would be the aspect of being certified as a clinical exercise physiologist, where I could provide direct insight paired with the primary care physicians to directly personalize an exercise protocol for individuals that decide to join and partake in these hikes. So it would be more so tied to the clinic than other third-party groups that, you know, offer hikes like you're talking about the Appalachian Trail Club.
Great, thank you.
Awesome, thank you, everyone.
Okay, great job, Tom. Thank you very much to the health hikers. Now we're moving on to Varun from Varun Manara, from giving the presentation is Varun Manarahan. So do we have Varun present?
I don't see them on the participant list, Brandon, so maybe we should move to the next one.
Okay, thank you, Heidi. So moving on to the next competitor is Flowtonics Inc. by Daniel Steiner.
Thank you, Brandon. Let me get my screen up real quick for you guys. All right. I'm just going to start a clock on my own here so I have an idea of how long I'm going, and I'm going to go ahead and start. So today I'm going to tell you how we can alleviate healthcare stress with photonic diagnostics for the point of care using Flowtonics technology. Healthcare should be simple. You feel sick, You go to the hospital, see your physician, they recommend medicine, you take the medicine, you feel better. However, we know this is not the case. You get sick, you schedule an appointment, the hospital can be minutes to hours away, you need to wait at the hospital for minutes to hours. You eventually see your physician. After an initial assessment, your physician recommends diagnostics, which take days to weeks to get results from. These results go back to your physician, he thinks about what therapy will be best for you, calls you back up, you return back to the hospital, see your physician, talk about the therapy, you get the therapy, take the therapy, and then you feel better. Now, that is an overly complex process that is not simple. Photonics will make it simple. With our photonics technology, there will be less appointments, physicians will get more information, resulting in faster diagnosis and better treatments. Photonics uses state-of-the-art optical diagnostics with over a decade of validation to produce a platform that is fast, quantitative, multiplex, easy to use, and portable to gain information about one's healthcare status, all on microchips that are the size of a grain of rice. Our target customer is going to be point-of-care coordinators who facilitate diagnostic purchasing in hospital systems. They purchase for urgent care centers, our emergency departments, outpatient services, as well as general medicine. With a total available market for point-of-care diagnostics expected to grow to $46.7 billion by 2026, there is room in this space to grow. Current point-of-care diagnostics have been developed by Abbott, BD, and Quidel. However, Photonics can do it better by integration and simplification with our patented photonic technology. To get Photonics started, we first need hardware and software development, and luckily we have received funds from the University of Rochester Technology and Development Fund and the Center of Excellence in Data Science to pursue these developments. Additionally, customer discovery was needed to understand more about the market, and through the NSF I-Core short course program, we conducted over 50 customer discovery interviews to better align our interest with that of our customers. Our timeline is to begin with early research and development and prototyping using the funds we obtained from the University of Rochester, leading towards pilot studies where tens of thousands of repeatability and reproducibility experiments will be performed to provide us with data for the FDA approval process. The FDA approval process will require significant outside investment to lead to scalable manufacturing. Luckily, scalable manufacturing has already partially been solved by our collaboration with AIM Photonics. The Photonics team has a CEO of Benjamin Miller, who has successfully raised over $40 million of venture capital for a previous business, as well as Michael Bryan and myself, Daniel Steiner, who are postdocs in the Benjamin Miller Laboratory working on commercializing this technology. We have significant affiliations with AIM Photonics and potential collaborations with the entities listed below. Thank you for listening to my pitch, and I will be happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Dan. Great pitch and presentation. Time for judges' questions.
Hey, Daniel, from a technological perspective, what is Photonics bringing forth that the other big competitors in the space either don't have or can't develop?
So currently, diagnostics are typically measuring chemical reactions or fluorescence. We are using photonics, which eliminates the need for other molecules and excitation and simply uses characteristic phenomenon of light to measure essentially mass bound to the surface of chips. So we eliminate the need for transducing elements like secondary antibodies, fluorescent molecules, enzymatic reactions, anything like that is just completely gone. We just use regular old photons.
Is this a platform or are you developing targeted tests?
So this will eventually be a platform technology. However, the targeted tests that we are developing first or conducting research on target specific cardiac panels, specifically looking at cardiac troponin, CRP, and creatinine kinase.
And I apologize for being skeptical, but as an immunologist, as someone who knows how a lot of these tests are constructed, could you be a little bit more technical about the photons? Like, are you, like, what physical method are you using with the photon interrogation to do these quantitative tests?
So it's going to be an immunochemically based. So it's going to be antibody, antigen, or antigen antibody binding. Now, what I didn't mention in this is that with the previous venture that Benjamin Miller was involved with, they developed a proprietary surface functionalization layer for these types of silicon devices, with that functionalization layer basically being how you attach antibodies and capture molecules onto the sensor itself. So they've gone through and put forth basically $30 million of R&D to perfecting that surface functionalization chemistry. We take advantage of that chemistry and eliminate a lot of the extracurricular reagents to get our signal.
Have they created blocking IP for you then? I mean, do you have a problem, or are you licensing all that IP?
So the IP, so the previous company called Adarza does have IP that we can work on licensing with. We also have 2 disclosures through the University of Rochester for this technology, and we are working on a 3rd provisional at this point in time. So the photonic elements here will be licensed through the tech transfer office at the University of Rochester.
Okay, time is up. Thank you very much, judges, for your questions, and thank you, Dan, for a great presentation and great information. So we're going to move on to our final pitch of the day, which is the L Kit by Asmir Sharapul.
Hi, how's it going? I'm just gonna share my screen. Hopefully everybody can see that. Good. So let me just get started. So today I'll be talking about an early idea of this L Kit to predict treatment toxicity in acute myeloid leukemia. So acute myeloid leukemia is the most common adult leukemia, resulting in very, very poor long-term outcome. It is one of the hardest cancer to treat. It predominantly occurs in older population, so above 60 years of age and with a median age of 68 years old. What's alarming is that within this last decades, AML or acute myeloid leukemia incidence and death has steadily increased. Now, there's lack of effective treatments to treat acute myeloid leukemia, especially within this older age population. So when you have acute myeloid leukemia, you basically have a bone marrow failure. And the standard induction therapy right now for acute myeloid leukemia results in 5-year survival rates of less than 15% for patients above 60. And you can see in this graph over here, this is by the SEER database, is that a lot of patients, so more than 70% of the patients within this population die within the 1 year of chemotherapy. And that's very alarming. So the problem, 70% of patients die within 1 year of therapy, mostly due to relapse. And the urgent need that we need right now is to predict the treatment toxicities and relapse. Potentially, we need a rapid test for toxicity, because by the time patients get to their 3rd month or 6th month follow-up after chemotherapy, it might already be too late. So this is where our lab, the Frisch laboratory in the Wilmot Cancer Center, has expertise. In 2012, we found that CCL3, this chemokine, is elevated in AML patients. And recently, other professors or labs have also shown this as well. And what's also interesting on the right is that after chemotherapy, this level of CCL3 gets reduced. So right now we don't have a diagnostic method for biomarkers of AML in the clinic. So this is where my proposal comes. The L Kit essentially is to measure CCL3 level post chemotherapy for toxicity prediction within this population. Right now, it's just an idea, but we have the research expertise in the Frisch lab and also clinical data and patient database at the Wilmot Cancer Center. What I need is right now is to move on from this stage to the next stage of creating this idea. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Asmir. Now it's time for judges' questions.
So this goes up in AML and then goes down after chemotherapy. So it doesn't sound like a prediction of toxicity. It sounds like a prediction of, I'm not sure it's either a prediction of toxicity or a prediction of efficacy. I'm just curious how you're going to use this level of CCL3 to actually predict anything. Did we lose the presenter?
Yeah, it looks like he froze.
Oh.
We'll give him a minute.
Technology.
Okay, my apologies. I lost internet connection.
Yeah. Did you hear my question?
No.
Okay. So the CCL3 goes up in AML compared to normal and then goes down after chemotherapy. So it is a biomarker of efficacy. But how will you use it to predict something?
Gotcha. So just according to this data, so this data is very new and correlation is still being made in the field. So just from our lab, this 2012, so not a lot of patients have elevated level of CCL3. So you see patient number 4, patient number 6, it's pretty relative levels to normal. But we do see an elevation. And in other cases of leukemia or bone marrow failure, like MDS, there is a correlation between CCL3 and severity of the disease itself. So we have not proven that there is a high correlation between severity of the disease and in leukemia with CCL3, but it is potentially a marker that we can look at, differentiate between the 70% people who died after 1 year of therapy and the 30% who survived after 1 year of therapy, and potentially 15% of those that eventually live for 5 years or more. So a lot of data will be needed, but I think it might be a potential target or potential biomarker for that purpose.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was just curious, in a clinical setting, how would you measure expression?
So right now, it will be looking at serum protein concentration or looking at gene expression of whatever you have in your serum. So either qPCR, or you can look at ELISA, or you can look at protein quantification. So usually when clinicians do that, they would have to send it to a lab or whatnot, and that will take a little bit of time to get the results back. So for this particular project, I think that I haven't really talked about the details of the technology, but we'll definitely starting with serum and potentially protein quantification in serum. That's much more effective compared to the current methods that we already have.
Okay, any questions from Sharon or Sullafa?
No, thank you. I'm good.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Azmir. Okay, and that was the last of our presentations. So judges, time to deliberate. So if Eric, you could help them get into the breakout room so we could talk about who's, you know, going to be receiving prizes a little bit later. So, okay, everybody. So while the judges are deliberating, you know, probably for the next 10 minutes or so, that concludes the pitch aspect of our first annual SMD Big Ideas in Science and Medicine pitch competition. So stick around and hang out with me for a few minutes while the judges are discussing, and then we will announce the prizes and then have a networking event with the judges and other members of the competitors and the staff that have put on the pitch competition afterwards. And if you have to go after the prizes, then that is also good. So, yeah. Okay, Jeff, you wanted to say a few words?
Yeah, thank you to everyone for participating. It was a great group of presentations, and I know I speak for all the judges. A 3-minute presentation requires hours and hours of preparation. So really want to thank you for all the hard work. I'll get right to the results here. So we were charged with coming up with a top 2. So in second place, really nice job by Assistive ORF Screw Trajectory Surgical Tool. So really nice job with the presentation. You guys got to come up with a better name for the company. And then in first place was STIM Medical. So really nice job, folks. Congratulations.
Yay. So congratulations to ORIF and STI Medical. You guys will be, we will reach out to you with documentation on how you'll receive your payment. But also I want to mention that, this doesn't necessarily mean that everyone else didn't have a great idea. Everybody else's pitch was incredible. Please stick with it. This is one competition. And myself and the Ain Center, we're happy to work with everybody and help everybody to continue to grow their ideas. So thank you very much to the judges. You guys have been incredible. All of your questions were really great. And thank you to everybody that were coming. So now we can commence the networking session.